Every company has a story. And for a lot of them, the story of their finance department has been one of, well, a manual struggle, just buried in spreadsheets and constantly reacting to things. But a new chapter is being written. It's kind of like a hero's journey, transforming these teams from just keeping score to actually shaping the future. Today, we're going to dive right into that journey, from insight to real measurable impact. So let's just start with a really fundamental question for any leader out there. Is your finance team spending all its time looking in the rearview mirror, just reporting on what's already happened? Or are they looking ahead, helping you steer the business into what's coming next? Honestly, the answer to that question pretty much defines your company's potential. Every hero's journey has to start somewhere, right? In the ordinary world. And for a lot of businesses, that world is the day in, day out manual grind of traditional finance. It's a world that feels familiar, sure, but it's absolutely packed with hidden costs and, you guessed it, missed opportunities. And from that starting point, you've really got two paths that emerge. On one side, you have reactive operations. Think siloed, high cost, and super manually intensive work. But on the other side, you've got the proactive enterprise, automated, integrated, and totally value-driven. This is the core choice, really, the central conflict of the whole story. Now, what's so telling about this is that these aren't just bullet points, they are serious business blockers. I mean, think about it. A huge product launch getting delayed because one critical invoice got stuck in an approval bottleneck for weeks. That's a fragmented workflow causing real-world damage. Or what about the compliance risks that come from simple manual errors in reporting? These things create friction, they annoy your vendors, and ultimately, they just stop the business from being able to scale. It's the daily grind that so many companies are fighting against. Sooner or later, though, every hero gets that call to adventure. And for a business, that call is the digital mandate. It's that moment when the gap between where you are and where you need to be just becomes too wide, too dangerous to ignore anymore. It's the point where you realize that taking a new path isn't just an option, it's an absolute necessity. So what is that gap, really? Well, it's the lack of a single, unified digital orchestration layer. The best way to think about it is like a symphony without a conductor. You've got all these powerful instruments, your ERP, your procurement systems, but they're all just playing their own tune. Without that orchestration, all you get is noise, not music. And that disconnect is what's holding the business back from being truly agile. Okay, so our hero has accepted the call. Now it's time to find the tools and the strategy for the journey ahead. This is where the real work of architecting the transformation begins. The first tool you need is the engine room, hyper-automation. And it's so important to understand that this isn't just one single technology. It's a strategic fusion of a few things. So think of it like this. Business Process Management, or BPM, is what designs the most efficient route for, say, an invoice to travel. Then, robotic process automation, or RPA bots, they're like the super fast couriers that carry that invoice along the route, handling all the boring manual data entry. And finally, analytics is the GPS, constantly watching for traffic jams and suggesting better routes in real time. Put them all together and you get one incredibly powerful, intelligent engine. Now, if hyper-automation is the engine, then predictive analytics, well, that's the crystal ball. This is what lets a company stop reacting to problems and actually start anticipating them. For example, it could look at payment data and flag that a certain vendor has a super high probability of paying late next quarter. This lets you proactively manage that relationship and deal with cash flow risks before they even happen. That's the ultimate strategic advantage, isn't it? Solving problems before they're even problems. So how does this all come together? Well, it builds into a really clear three-step blueprint. First, you have to standardize your processes. I mean, you can't automate chaos, right? Second, you automate intelligently, using that powerful hyper-automation engine we just talked about. And third, you enable true decision intelligence with predictive analytics. Of course, a journey this important often needs an experienced guide, and that's where a leading finance transformation partner like WNS can come in and help architect this whole strategy, making sure all the pieces fit together perfectly. All right, now we get to the best part of the story, the climax. The hero has the tools, they've got the plan, and now it's time for the payoff. This is where we see the real, tangible, data-driven results of this whole journey. So what does this actually deliver in the real world? Well, for one global manufacturing firm, using hyperautomation in their record-to-report process led to a 40% cost reduction in just journal preparation. Now, that is not just a number on a page. That's actual capital unlocked that you can reinvest in innovation, R&D, or growing the business. It literally turns a cost center into a value driver. And it's not just about cost. Look at the insane impact it has on speed. This chart shows the turnaround time for a core process at a big financial services firm. On the left, that really tall bar, that's the old way, the manual grind. And on the right, that tiny little bar, that's the new reality with a hyper-automated workflow. This isn't just a small improvement. It's a total game changer. It fundamentally changes what's even possible from an operations standpoint. So what does all that speed get you? It translates directly into much better adherence to your service level agreements, and maybe even more importantly, massively enhanced operational control. For any C-suite executive, that just means more reliability, less risk, and a business that actually delivers on its promises time and time again. And these rewards, they're felt across the entire company. It creates this ripple effect of value. Let's take vendor management. Remember those symptoms we talked about, delayed payments and unhappy vendors? This transformation turns that into reduced cycle times and much higher satisfaction. That's not just an operational win. It actually strengthens your entire supply chain. You see it everywhere, from record to report, going from high cost and full of errors to fast and accurate, to procure-to-pay, just eliminating those bottlenecks. The victory is really won on multiple fronts. And so our hero returns from the journey, but they're fundamentally changed. They come back not just with some new tools, but with a powerful new mindset, a proactive, data-driven culture that starts to spread through the whole organization. This quote from the experts who led these transformations, it just says it all, doesn't it? The technology is what makes it possible, but the ultimate prize, the most important shift, is cultural. It's all about creating an organization that looks forward, that uses data not as a report card on the past, but as a roadmap for the future. So remember that choice we saw at the very beginning of our journey, those two paths? Well, our hero made their choice, and they returned victorious. The proactive enterprise isn't some distant goal anymore. It's the new reality, a reality that's built on intelligence, agility, and foresight. And so we end right where you begin. Your company's transformation journey is its own story, just waiting to be written. And its finance team is the hero, right at the center of it all. The only question left is, who's going to be its guide?